The paper pilot here, back with another video. Today we're going to be solving another S1 paper, especially it's November 2024 variant 2. So let's start. So the first question we get here is on probability. At a college, the students choose exactly one of tennis, hockey, or netball to play. The table shows the number of students in year 1 and year 2 at the college playing each of the sports. Okay, so in year 1, tennis 16 players, hockey 22, netball 12, etc., etc. So one student is chosen at random from the 120 students. Event X and N are defined as follows. X, the number of students is in year 1, and N, the number of students play netball. The first question is that probability that the number of students is in year 1 given that the number of students plays netball. Okay, first we have to find the intersection between this. So we have to find this. What is this? This is basically, that means the student has to be in year 1. Okay, that means from here. And that means from here, and the student plays netball. That means from here. So the intersection between that is 12. So this is going to be 12 out of the total is 120. So 12 out of 120. Okay, now we have to find the probability of just N. That means the student plays netball, right? So this part. So what is this part? This part is 12 plus 28 by 120, right? So now I have to divide this by this, which means 12 by 120 divided by 12 plus 28 by 120. The answer we get is 12 by 50, which is the answer. Okay, good. Just check though the calculator one more time. Yeah. Oh, 12 by 40, guys. Sorry, 12 by 40. Yep, that's the answer. All right. Now, probability of N, given that X, same thing. The first part will be the same thing, which means 12 by 120. But this time divided by probability of N, right? So what is probability of N? Probability of N we already figured out is, now probability of X, sorry. The probability of X we already figured out is year 1, okay, is in year 1, so 16 plus 22 plus this. 16 plus 22 plus 12 divided by 120. This value we get is 12 over 50, which is the answer. Nice. Great. So moving on, determine whether or not X and N are independent values. So how can we find that? So if they're independent, that means Px intersection N should equals to Px into Pn. Okay, and we already found Px intersection N, which is 12 over 120, and Px we found is 12 over 20. 12 over 20 into Pn. Pn is 40 over 120, and they're clearly not equals. Hence, it is not independent. Right? Moving on. One of the students who plays netball takes 8 shots. On each shot, the probability that she will succeed is 0.15. Find the probability that she succeeds on fewer than 3 of these shots. Right. So this is binomial. For sure, this is binomial. So binomial geometry. This is binomial probability. Total is 8. The probability of success is 1.05. So Px is less than 3, fewer than these shots. So that means it can be the probability of 0. none of these shots, or one of these shots, or 2. Okay, so what can this be? This is gonna be probability of 0. That means not okay. It's gonna be 8 divided by 5 to the power of 8. All right, or 8c1 into 0.15 to the power of 1 into 0.85 to the power of 7, or 8c2 into 0.15 to the power of 2 into 0.85 to the power of 7. If we add all them up, we get 0.895, which is the answer. Right? Very simple. Now we have a permutation combination question. So the word given is algebraic. Right. So it says find a different number of arrangements of the 9 letters. So there are total 9 letters, so 9 different ways, so 9 factorial. But since there are 2 A's, 2 factorial, you have to divide that by 2 factorial, okay? Which we get as 181,440. Just the answer. Great. Moving on, find a number of different arrangements of the 9 letters in the word algebraic in which there are no more than 2 letters between the 2 A's. Right. So 2. Okay. Alright. So, how can we do this? Okay. It says in which there are no more than 2 letters. So, there can be 1 letter difference, or there can be 2 letter difference, or there can't also be 0 letter difference, right? So the first is 2 letter difference. So 1, 2, right here. If you put an A here, an A there. So 2 A's are already there, and there's 9 letters. So 7. There's 7 letters, and after that you have to put 2 letters in between. So 7p2. Okay. Next, this is for this permutation, but there are also remaining 6 left. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Hence into 6 factorial. Right. So what about, this is for 2 letters. 2 letters difference, right? What about just 1 letter difference? Okay. So for 1 letter difference, that means, for example, if you put one A over here, and then after a gap A over there, okay, that means out of the 7 remaining choices, you're gonna put 1 letter here. So that's why it's 7p1. Over there, there's also 6 more remaining options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why into 6 factorial, or 6p6. What if now the last possibility is that there's no difference? That means the A's are together. So no letter diff. Which means the A's are together. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these 2 A's are together, basically. So if these 2 A's are together, that means this just leaves to be 8 factorial, since you're gonna consider them as 1 unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hence it's gonna be 8 factorial. So if we add all this up, 7p2 into 6 factorial plus 7p1 into 6 factorial plus 8 factorial. If you add all them up, you get the value of 105840, which is the answer. Moving on to the next question, we're giving a probability question again, so this time it's a probability distribution table. So a fair-sided ordinary, if a fair coin and an ordinary fair 6-sided dice are shown at the same time, random variable x is defined as follows. If the coin shows a tail, x is twice the score on the dice. if a coin shows a head, X is the score on the dice. If the score is even, X is 0 otherwise. Okay, so how can we solve this? Alright, it's better if we make a table for this, right? So let's see. Right. So if you make a table here, it can either be head or tail. So on a dice, there can be one, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. So this is a fair-sided dice, and the possibility, this is basically what I'm trying to draw is a possibility space diagram. So if it shows in head, X is the score on the dice. If the score is even, and X, that means even if it's even, then that even number is a score. If it's not even, if it's odd, then the score is 0. So over here, since it's 1, tail is gonna, for head it's gonna be 0. For 2 it's gonna be the same 2. For 3 it's gonna be 0. For 4 it's gonna be same, because all even numbers will remain the same, or all numbers will become 0. For 5 it's gonna be 0. For 6 it's gonna be 6. And what it says, if the coin shows a tail, X is twice the score on the dice. So that means since it's 1, 1 into 2, 2, 2 into 2, 4, 2 into 3, 3 into 2, 6, 4 is to 2, 8, 10, and 12. So we made ourselves a diagram. Now to draw this, it's going to be pretty simple now, since we have all the values. So now that we have all the values, we can draw it very simple. So wait, X, P, X. The values are either 0 or 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 12. So what's the probability for 6? Is 1, 2, 3. So 3 out of 12. For 2, it's 2 out of 12. For 4, it's 2 out of 12. For 6, it's 2 out of 12. For 8, it's 1 out of 12. Right, for 8, it's 1 out of 12. 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay. And for 10, it's again 1 out of 12. And for 12, it will be 1 out of 12 again, right? 1 out of 12. Okay. So that's about it. Yeah. So now moving on to the next question is EX. So how can we find EX? EX basically we multiply all these values first of all, which means basically 0 into 3 by 2 is 0, plus 2 into 2 by 2 is 4 by 12, plus 8 by 12, plus 12 by 12, plus 8 by 12, plus 10 by 12, plus 12 by 12. When we add all them up, we get the value of 9 over 2, which is the EX, which is EX value, right? So for variance, we need EX, and we also need EX squared, which basically means for variance, we need to square root the X value and multiply that with the probability of it. So 0 squared is 0, so this part is going to be 0. 2 squared is 4, 4 into 2, 8, 8 by 12, plus 4 square 16, 16 into 2 32 by 12, plus 6 square 36, 36 into 2 72 by 12, plus 8 square 64 by 12, plus 10 square 100 by 12, plus 12 square 144 by 12. Subtract that from 9 by 2 whole square. And let me do the calculation real quick, guys. We get the answer as 14.75. Just the answer, right? But since we can round it off actually. We can round it off to 14.8 TSF. So 14.8, that's the answer. Now next question we have is normal distribution. So in normal distribution we're giving the mean, okay. The mean and the standard deviation is given. And in 450 is given as well. So how can we do this? Okay, so normal distribution, we're given the mean, 19.8, 2.4 squares, so I have to write the variance. It says, how many of these trees would you expect to have at a height less than 18.2 meters? Right, so we just have to do it. So if we draw a diagram here, right? Okay, the mean is 19.8. This is 2.4. So 18.2 is on the left side over here. It says less than this, so we're asked to find this part. So how can we find this part? Well, normally, since it's given less, we don't have to minus anything from 1, since that's how normal distribution normally works. It has to be less. That's how the MF19 actually shows. So it is basically going to be like this: x greater than 18.2. Wait, it's 0.2 minus 19.8 divided by 2.4. As you guys can see, since this is less, it's going to turn out to be a negative, and for that case we have to subtract from 1. So this turns out to be negative 0.667. Since it's negative, to subtract this from 1. Wait, sorry. 1 minus this of 0.667. So if you use MF19 or calculator, in my case, in normal distribution, we get 1 minus 0.7477, which is 0.2523. This is not the answer, not yet. We have to find the expected number. So how can we find the expected number? Expected number is just multiply that, the probability, by the total number. It leaves to be 1114 if you round up. It can also be 1115, but 1114 is the closest I see. If you write 1115, you guys will still get the marks, so don't need to worry about that. So next question we have is part B. The height in meters of the red pine trees are normally distributed when a mean is given this, and standard deviation is given this. Standard deviation is unknown. 26 of the red pine trees have a height greater than this. Okay, so let's form the equation real quick first. Normal distribution, 23.4 standard deviation. Okay, so what are we given? Height greater. So P R is greater than 25.5, and this probability is 0.26. Since this is greater, it's better if we convert it to less. And how do we convert it to less? We subtract that from 1. So if we just subtract the probability from 1, this probability, then we find the probability of less than this. So less than 25.5 is actually 0.74. Now we just have to do everything normally. 25.5 minus 23.4 divided by this equals 0.74. You have to do inverse. You can use backward tracing using the MF19, or I would personally use the calculator. So if you use the calculator, we get this. Also, if you guys want a video on how you can use a calculator to do normal distribution, I can make that as well. It's pretty easy actually. It makes things way simpler. Even though Cambridge wants us to use the MF19, you can secretly use it and just show all the steps. Then that's the easier way, since that way Cambridge won't find out anything. Right. So from this equation, we find this is 3.27, which is the answer. Great. Moving on to the next question. Again, a permutation combination question. In a class of 21 students, there are 10 violinists, 6 guitarists, 5 pianists. A group of 7 is to be chosen from these 21 students. The group will consist of 4 violinists, 2 guitarists, and 1 pianist. So in how many ways can the group of 7 be chosen? Right. So out of 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4 is violinist, 2 is guitarist, and 1 is pianist. So basically we're selecting here, not permutation, it's selection. Its order does not matter. So out of 10 violinists, you're selecting 4. That's why 10C4 into, out of 5 pianists, you're selecting 2 guitarists. That's why 5C2. And then out of 4 guitarists, you're selecting 2, and out of 5 pianists, you're selecting 1. That's why 5C1. If you do this, you get 15750, which is the answer. Great. Now, on another occasion, a group of 5 will be chosen from the 21 students. The group must contain at least 2 violinists and at least 1 guitarist and at least 1 pianist. Right. So how many ways can you do this? It's better to make a table for questions like this. It helps a lot. Violinist, guitarist. You know what? Let's make this smoother. So, okay. Okay, so violinist V for this, guitarist for G, and for P. So how many ways can be this done? First is there can be 4 violinists, 1 guitarist, and none of them, because it says at most 0, so it cannot be. It can also be 0. So basically the range for pianist is either 0 or 1, right? And yeah, so how many? Okay, what's the second possibility? There can be 3 violinists, 2 guitarists, and again 0 over here. Or there can be 2 violinists, 3 guitarists, and again 0. Or there can be 3 guitarists, 3 violinists, 1 guitarist, and 1. Or there can be 2, 2, 2, 1. Okay, these are all the possibilities that can there be using the conditions and everything. So again, the same step as 1 out of 10, you're selecting 4, so 10C4, 10C1, same here, 10C3, 6C2, 10C2, 6C3, 10C3 into 6C1 into 5C1. Over here, since it's 0, I'm not adding it up. If you guys want, you can write this, but it won't really matter. Like it's like what 5C1. It won't matter. It really won't matter. So, but over here, since it's 1, it will matter. So make sure to write that down. Then 10C2 into 6C2 into 5C1. If you add all them up, C4 into 6C1, then C3 into 6C2, then C2 into 6C3, 10 C3 into 61 into 5C1 plus 10 C2 into 63 into 5C. You get the total value as 10935. Just the correct answer. Moving on to the next question, we have to draw a stem and leaf diagram. Okay, so how do you draw a stem and leaf diagram? Since it's a back-to-back, let's first of all draw this carefully. Straight line. Okay, so the numbers given are something like this: 383942444648. Okay, so what's the lowest number? The lowest number is here is 32, and the largest number here is 60. No, it's not 60, it's 76. Okay, so the range is from 332 to 76. So the numbers are going to be like this: 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So the key we can write here, you can write any value, to be honest, it just doesn't have to be from the table. 3, 2, which means 38 minutes. Wait. Which means 38 minutes for falcons. And 32 minutes for kites. Okay. It says with falcons on the left hand side. Alright, that means falcons is going to be here, while kites are going to be here. So from 3, which values are for kites? So from kites 3, 2, write 2 over down, then there isn't anything anymore. What about for falcon? For falcon 30, we get 38 and 39. So write 8 and 9. What else? For 4, there is 40, 2 zeros. Then there is 45, 47, 48. What about for falcons? For falcons, there is 42, 44, 46, 48. Right. So 2, 4, 8, 6. And what about for kites? For 5, there is 2, 4, 8, 9, 9. 2, 4, 8, 9, 9. And for kites for 5, there's 0, 1, 2, 6, 8, 9. 0, 1, 2, 6, 8, 9. For 6, we have 0, 1, 2, 1, 3, 5. 0, 1, 3, 5. For falcons, we have 4, 6. 4, 6, yeah. 4 and 9. 4 and 9. 4 and 9. For 7, there's nothing here. For kites, for falcons, there's only 76. Since there's only 6. That's about it, yeah. Wait, I might should bring this over here. You know what? This is actually okay. Yeah, works, whatever. So find the median. So what's the median? The total number is 15. So since it's 15, 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, which means between the 7 and the 8, the median is going to be for falcons, right? So this part, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The median comes out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This value is the median. Why? Because if we exclude this, how many numbers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hence, this is the median. So the median is 41 minutes. So next is the interquartile range. So IQR. How do you find IQR? IQR is upper quartile minus lower quartile. So the best way to do this, we have already separated into upper and lower quartile. This part is upper quartile, right? This part is upper quartile, while this whole thing is lower quartile. So from the lower quartile, just think of this as another set of range of data, and from here find the median. That's going to be the lower quartile, and from here find the median. That's going to be the upper quartile. So how can we do this? Okay, so from here the upper quartile comes out to be 9 actually. Yeah, because from this, if we take 9 away, it's a median. Yeah, it's the median. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Yeah, so upper quartile is not 9, it's 59 minutes, right? 59. And what about lower quartile? Lower quartile comes out to be 44. That means this. So 44. So what is IQR? IQR, simple as this. 59 minus 44 is 15 minutes. Guys, let me just drink some water real quick. Alright. Next question is given here. Let X and Y denote the times in minutes of a runner from the Falcons and a runner from the Kites respectively. It is given that the summation of X is this, summation of X squared is this, summation of Y is this, summation of Y squared is this. Find the mean and standard deviation of the times taken by all 30 runners. So how can we find that? So we need to first find the total mean, which is already in the question. So the total mean, which means summation of both, so which is given. So 792 plus 783, the total summation divided by total number, which is 30, which comes out to be 52.5 roughly. And how can we find standard deviation? Standard deviation, the formula for standard deviation is basically this: root over this by summation of x squared plus summation of y squared. This will be given in the F19, so I'm going to worry about that, but by total n minus the mean square. So just substitute the values and should be done. 43505 then plus 42223 divided by 30 and 52.5 whole square. Let me just substitute in my calculator real quick. We get the value as 10.1 3SF. Okay, next question. In a game, players attempt to score a goal by kicking a ball into a net. The probability that Leno scores a goal is 0.4. Any attempt, independently of all the other attempts. This is basically a geometric progression. We can only see that. The random variable x denotes the number of attempts it takes for Leno to score a goal, which is x equals 5. That means the first 4 times he attempts, he fails. So the probability that, so let's just write this. First of all, GO 0.4, probability of success, probability of failure 0.6. So that's gonna be 0.6 because he fails 4 times to the power 4 into he finally passes. Finally, which we get as 0.05184. Nice. Next question is find the probability of between 6 and 7. Okay, 6 and 7. Okay. So what is px equals to 3? Means he fails the first 2, 0.6 whole square, then passes 0.4. Then px equals to 4, 6 cubed, and that passes. Px equals to 5, 0.64 passes. Px equals to 6, 0.64 Wait, did a mistake. 0.65 passes. Px equals to 7. 0.66 to power and then passes. So if we add all these up, you should get 0.332. Instead of this, there's actually an easier way to solve this. Let me show you guys how. I just figured out the easier way to solve this actually. Just a blank page, okay. So instead of just, wait, what just happened? Hold up. Okay, so instead of just doing it manually like what I did a few seconds ago, what you can do instead is, it says from P3 to 7, right? That means you include everything greater than equals to 7, greater than less than 7, right? But it has to be starting from 3. So what we can do is subtract this from everything less than equals to 2. That gives all the values between this range, which the question asks. So basically, how can we find this? So 1 minus 0.6 to the power of 7 minus 1 minus 0.6 to the power of 2. That's actually way easier because that's just one step. That's why it's actually 2 marks. What I did, that should, give 4 marks or 3 marks. Right? That's an easier way to do this. Saves a lot of time. That's actually easier. But either way, if you do this again, you will get the same result if you do all your calculations correct. So next question is part C. Find the probability that Leno scores his second goal on or before his 5th attempt. So basically what he's trying to say is that he scores his second goal less than or equals to 5. Either on 5 or before. And this is his second goal, by the way. Okay. So let's say he scores his second goal. He scores second goal on the 5th attempt. Right. He scores on 5th attempt. Then he scores twice, right? He gets 2 passes. So since it's 2 times he actually, passes, that means 0.4 square. But the rest 3 of the times he fails, so 0.3 cube. And think of it as like a permutation combination actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he passes, and it can be any one of these 4 attempts. That's why into 4C1. Because there's 4 chances, 4 possibilities. And what about second goal on 4th attempt? If it's on the 4th attempt, there's gonna be 3 possibilities actually, so reduce that. So it's gonna be 3C1 into 0.4 square into 0.6 square. Right. What about he scores the second goal on the 3rd attempt? Right. The 3rd attempt. Which is, again, it's gonna be 2C1. It keeps decreasing by 1 if you guys can see the trend here, right? 2C1 into 0.4 square into 0.62 power 1. Or he scores it on, or he scores a second score on second goal on the 2nd attempt. That's the only way this can be. We cannot go before this because he scores twice. That means he scores like first and then he scores second, right? So this is the last possibility. So over here it's very simple. Since there's only 2 attempts, 0.4 square, that's about it. So if you add all these up, that's your final answer. Add all these up. You add this and this and this and this. If you add all this, you should get the value of this, which is your final answer. Round them off to 0.663. Actually, just round off to 0.663. That's your final answer. This one was a bit tricky, but then again, not really. You just had to do a lot of work out. But honestly, if I'm going to be honest, all this for just 3 marks kind of hurts, but what can I say? It's Cambridge, it's Cambridge Equations. So again, this time we have an approximation normal distribution. So Leno has 75 attempts to score a goal. Use a suitable approximation to find the probability that Leno scores more than 28 goals but fewer than 35 goals. So we're given a range here. So first, it's binomial. First, let's write binomial. That's binomial. 75, 0.4. From here, we have to find mu, which is the mean. Formula for mu is NP. N is 75 over here, and P is 0.4. Which we get as 30. And variance is NPQ. So basically 30 into 0.6, which comes out to be 18. So now we know all the values for normal distribution. Now we do normal distribution. Normal distribution, which is 30, 18. A lot of people make mistakes here. They just start off doing normal distribution, but we have to use approximation here. So the range given is from 28 goals to 35, but approximation, so we have to think about this carefully. Over here it's less than 35, hence you have to subtract from 0.5, and for over here it's greater than 28, so you have to add 0.5 from there. That's a rule. So 28.5 to 34.5. That's how we're gonna do this. This is basically using continuity correction here. So continuity. You don't have to write this. I'm just showing this just for you guys to understand what I did here. Basically plus minus 0.5 here for the continuity correction. So now we solve as so. 0.5 minus 30 divided by root over 18, because this value of 18 is not the standard deviation, this is standard deviation squared. This is variance, don't forget that. From this to z to 34.5 minus 30 divided by root over 18 again. So what do we get? Using the calculator, we get negative 0.354 from z to 1.061, then z is 1.6, this to this 0.351, subtract this actually, sorry, right equals to here. If we subtract this, think of it as a graph. You have the graph given here. Graph given here from this part is what we have to figure out, and then from this part to figure out. It's basically less subtract this, so this part. So from here, this is 1.06, this is negative 0.364, and this is 0.354. I'm just using the, okay guys, so basically what I'm trying to figure out is from the graph I'm trying to figure out how are we supposed to proceed. So what basically happens is, okay, 1.061 okay, you find this value and subtract it, but since it's negative you have to subtract 1 from there and make sure to give the brackets here. Brackets play an important factor since we change signs with it. So using the F19 calculator, we get 0.8556 minus 1 minus 0.6383. As you guys can see, since I put the bracket here, this 1 will become minus while this will become positive. That's why you always have to put the bracket, or you guys will end up getting the wrong value. And this, you get 0.3617. If we subtract that, we get 0.4939, or you guys can just write 0.44. That is your final answer. There you go. I think that's it, right? Alright, honestly this paper was pretty easy, relatively easy, but I would say that it's gonna take a long time though. Some questions require more thinking and more time. Overall, not the easiest paper, but also not the difficult paper. I'll give them a 6 out of 10 difficulty, but I'll give them a 9 out of 10 of lengthy, because all these questions were pretty lengthy, I'm not gonna lie. Even though there's no graph here, I would give them pretty lengthy. So that's it. If you guys any questions, any queries on this paper or any of my videos, or if you guys want any specific solution videos on any specific papers, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. I will be sure to respond as fast as I can. So that's about it. So until next time, this is it. Goodbye guys, thanks for watching.